Hey everybody, welcome to the Digital Insurance Pint podcast. As always, we're joined by Adam Mitchell, CEO of Mitchell and Whale, Jeff Roy, CEO of Excalibur, and Steve Earle, CEO of Cheap Insurance. Today's topic is focused on paradigm shifts. We call the famous book, Who Moved My Cheese? How we're going to adapt to the new normal. What if you can't get on the first page of Google? What are you doing there? What if, and I guess almost more importantly, what's that new arena going to look like?
What's the beer of the day?
Ooh, good idea.
I got a Cowbell's Kelly contraption from Cowbell Brewery in Blythe. Kelly invented one of the first working vehicles. So story back in the 1800s. So they named the beer after him. But his car was so loud it scared all the horses off the road. So they had to ban his vehicle and they wouldn't let him drive it around. So little Huron County history.
Goose Island. I didn't have time to pick up anything local today.
I'm steam whistle.
And I'm running water.
The Digital Insurance Pint, except our leader doesn't have a pint.
Yeah, well, that's the time zone difference, right? Still midday for me. So actually, we'll start right there, guys. What's the new normal? What is the so-called new arena? And maybe I'll start, Adam, with you. What's new normal for insurance brokers?
I don't know. I'll put the giant "I don't know" preface ahead of it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'll start with Jeff. Keep going, Adam.
So it's such a fractured marketplace with so little market share into the digital side. So there's still a ton of it. But I think what you're going to see is that, this COVID situation just kicked everybody to work from home, this massive experiment you never would have attempted on your own. And now we are attempting it and the wheels aren't falling off. And you're going to see people that have a real strategic operating advantage and they can just run that little bit faster, that 10% cheaper, that 10% smoother, or more, 30%. And that will just continue to eat away. I don't think the technology goes back. When the very first cars came out, they weren't all that much better than the horse and buggies of the day, but progressively it just kept chipping away. And then it's really hard to try and modernize the horse and buggy. You got to replatform at a certain point.
Okay, great. Jeff.
It's just like the old arena. There's no difference. So you talk about the arena, it's the existing arena. There's just different fans in the seats. What brokers are doing, the ones that have been doing digital are just accelerating what they've done, and they've been able to experiment and move ahead during this time without as much interruption as the other people. And you've got a lot of people that have entered the arena trying to figure things out under stress and duress. And that's difficult. If you were used to people walking into your brokerage and your door's shut and that's your model and you're belly to belly, face to face, you've got to adapt to that. So those people are learning and having to do it. And it's probably a little bit messier for those people. You talked about how do you get in the first page of Google. My joke is, where do you hide a dead body? Second page of Google, because nobody ever gets there. So the brokers that have been working on getting their page rank, their links, their website user experience, I know all of us on this call for the last number of years have been geeking out trying to improve our page speed time, improve usability. And, that came in handy because there's a lot of people searching right now digitally. More people have shifted to digital that aren't coming back. So, I think it just accelerated, a different game, and basically the arena is just a different game going on in there, more, I guess, a higher level and a faster level. It's like we were playing junior B hockey. Now we're maybe up to junior A. Yeah, that's what one of the things people talk about, the field of dreams, build it, they will come. I think brokers and agents need to look at, if you don't build it, they will leave. And you have to continue to evolve your experience and add things on to your, I call it the amusement park, but add stuff into it to make sure it works. So,
yeah, great. All right, Steve, anything to add to what Adam and Jeff have talked about in terms of the new arena?
Ton, actually. Great. So what is the new normal? Are you talking about consumers' new normal or broker channel new normal? Because consumer new normal has changed.
Yeah, why don't you talk about the consumer side? Because consumer is king. Brokers have to adapt to that. So what?
Well, I'll address that too, Tom.
Please do.
Consumer new normal. You have a lot of techno neophytes who've been pushed towards the consumer has now communicated and bought things and services electronically way faster. Like that ramp just went up, and it was forced by COVID. You got to sit at home. You got to get your groceries. Shit, I got to get them somehow. I hate online. Oh, all of a sudden, online's not so freaking bad. So the new normal goes up to this space for a consumer. Are they going to come back down to? They're not going to come all the way back down. The challenge is the broker channel. We don't have the tools to meet the elevated expectations of this new normal consumer, largely because our BMSs are shit and our insurers are still, I mean, nobody's talking to each other. If connectivity was not an issue 6 months ago, and I think this has come up in previous shows, this new normal, we could meet the new normal of the consumer. But the tools in front of us right now are disastrous. It's going to be really big challenge for the broker channel to catch up to this new normal of expectations of the consumer, given the tools that we have in front of us, both with the BMSs and the way insurance companies are operating.
What I think a couple things to add into about consumers too is there's some trends singularly universities identified. Revivalism has been kind of going on where people are kind of sick of technology. They've been dealing with it for too long. They want to go back to nostalgia. How many people here have been seeing record players coming back and people want to sit down and put a record on a record player? That surged in popularity. So you're going to have some people kind of revolting where they're sick of it. And it's kind of, you have another trend that, people want to go back to human mode where they're online, they're dealing with digital things, but they still want a bit of a human in there. So people are kind of craving for some of the old. So, you have consumers shifting, they're used to technology, but there's also a movement from some people back to that human to human. So how can you do that using tools that we have right now during COVID?
I'm gonna switch gears here for a second. And maybe I'll start with Steve this time. Is you guys are all growing, which typically in most cases means you're adding staff. So how in the new digital world, how are you both hiring and then training staff? That used to be a pretty hands-on thing.
Have you hired anyone during COVID, Steve?
Yeah, not cheap. Cheap didn't have to do a thing.
They were expensive?
Raise your finger. But a traditional shop did hire somebody, and it was a challenge to remotely train. It's a commercial lines person. Luckily, they came with the experience, but not with the BMS. And it was tricky, real tricky insofar as trying to arrange, meetings like this where you're online with somebody else. And it's a real challenge unless you're set up in such a way that you have a rock solid onboarding plan that you can digitize in some kind of way easily. It's going to be a real challenge. And if you're a smaller brokerage that doesn't hire all the time, your onboarding plan is probably to begin with, right? Let alone something there that you could digitize. It's this is new, Tom, and a challenge. Yeah.
Okay, good. Actually, Adam, have you hired anybody?
Yeah, I was just thinking we hired at least 6 since COVID.
You want to talk us through what the challenges were and how you've hopefully solved those challenges?
Yeah. So it's sort of half on sales, half on service. Service is still onboarding people, at least at time of recording. I don't know, maybe it digitized, but it just teams, just like this, where this meeting, we might have normally sat in one boardroom and done something. There's been one meeting where they sat on either side of a boardroom table with masks and went through something in person, but everything else has been Teams and screen sharing, like Microsoft Teams for video conference, and checking in. Our phone system is such that the manager can listen in on the call, and there's actually a whisper mode, so they can talk to the salesperson to give advice while the client can't hear it. But we've also stayed quite a ways away from no experience. We tried for quite a while hiring brand new, never ever people and training them up, and it was too much work for the pace that we were hiring at. So we found it better to just pay for veterans, and yeah, that's our current. Having experienced people has been a big part of it.
True.
Interesting. So, sort of begs the question, if you're only hiring veterans, where people, younger people or people transplanted from another industry, where do they go to, where do the green ones go? Where's the fresh blood get into the industry?
Well, and that's where it's tricky. Like we hired I would say, 20 something salespeople, and we had to hire 3 people during COVID, and they were licensed, thank God, because trying to get somebody Rebo licensed during COVID, very, very difficult. Rebo stress test for testing people remotely and operating, got challenged a lot, and they're trying to recover right now. We do have one person that's left the dental hygiene position because this ready for a change. So we got her. She's new to the industry, but she's really keen to learn, and we're trying to get her license. She's been reading and studying for the last month and a half, and we finally have her writing an exam tomorrow morning at 5:40 in the morning is when it's booked to do it virtually. So that's pretty exciting. But the one thing we had we had to map out all our training, and it's not just you have your technical knowledge, you've got your sales knowledge or service knowledge, and we've got a third-party vendor called Agency Performance Partner, Kelly Donahue, that provides the service and the sales training from a base. So we've got that built into a spreadsheet. We have the Truthful, our lead management training, which all of us have lead management, and we've got some videos and some hands-on. And we had people go into a boardroom and train on the screen and social distance. We've got everybody back in the office right now, so we haven't had to go full virtual, but we're trying to build virtual. You need to be able to do everything virtually, and that's the ultimate stress test. So we want to build videos. We want to have a client journey when they walk in the door day 1, right through to week 2, week 3, week 4, and get them up to full production as quickly as possible. That's just kind of my example. We're trying to figure out how to take that and put it online, and Monday.com has got a good link. There's some third-party vendors. We'd like to be able to build this and formalize it. So that was kind of our journey, but that kind of talks about, green people versus new people, and, finding the training. And there's not one size fits all training. I can't send somebody to the magical school at IBO and learn everything. There's 5 or 10 different things they have to learn, and somebody has to coach and mentor that. And we're just trying to build a better experience.
Yeah. I'm hearing a couple of takeaways here is that there's a screaming opportunity for someone, some digital entrepreneur to come along and build some sort of training plan for to get brokers their first opportunity in the insurance industry space. And secondly, what I'm hearing is in the meantime, just go ahead and hire Jeff's staff.
Yeah. Tom, I have it. Can I make a plug for something?
Sure.
Ooh.
As it depends. Are they a sponsor?
No, not yet.
Is it Atomic? You've already done that.
So no. So one of my staff at Chief developed. It's similar to what. Who's the guy with the chatbot there? Jeff.
Joseph. Pranav.
Joseph. It's like that, but it's not chattable. And we built it internally for cheap. I challenged her to do it. I said, "You build it, and you can have some IP on it." So it's called Quick Facts, and this thing, as a resource tool, you think of it as the CompuQuote of guidelines and wordings and workflows, where they can just go in, look. She can take somebody insurance experience. 2 weeks, not even 2 weeks training in office, and have them functioning at home independently using this tool, and not, having to call or bubble or talk to the person. Hey, what does this company do with it? It's just, it's all there. All the stuff that we take for granted, dealing with 50 companies, as Adam said, what do you do with this risk? And how does Travelers treat collapse due to pool? Oh no, you got to go into 50 different portals, compare the wordings of all these carriers and all that. It's all there in one spot. And she's done an amazing job. So it's pretty cool, and it's become an invaluable resource.
Awesome. That's part of the new normal, right?
Yep.
How do you get all the information without having to go a bajillion places, and because you can't just bend over the the divider and ask the 25-year veteran anymore.
Who's wrong?
Yeah, who's wrong? That's right.
Yeah.
Who's wrong half the time? Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch gears here, and let's just. So I'm going to ask you guys about digital marketing. So direct companies don't have the connectivity challenge that we have. Don't have some of the other roadblocks that we have. Obviously, have a lot more money than individual brokers to spend in the digital arena. So given those sort of disadvantages, and you guys are some of the few that have been able to succeed in that space, maybe just give me a few bullet points on how other brokers can overcome that built-in advantage in their trading space. And Jeff, let's go with you first.
I think for one of the things, first of all, and Tom, you could jump in about digital aptitude. Any broker can work on their website, continue to get links and work on your domain rank and your page rank. Most brokers have no idea what that is, but if you go to Ahrefs and you check how your page ranks, so I think we're 3.7 millionth in the world. We used to be 10 millionth when we started, and our organic traffic has increased drastically by going from 10 million to 3.7 million. So it's important to make sure you look at that plus your page speeds, your load time. So,
what do you think your total investment? This is going to be an obvious estimation, but what do you think your total investment into your website is?
That's a good question. I would say $60,000 to $80,000, if not more. It depends if you start adding.
That's got to be annual.
If you start adding all your blogs, like we probably spend $6,000 or $8,000 a month. It's probably into the hundreds of thousands now over the last 4 or 5 years when you start adding it up. So you got to put money into it. Yeah,
you're like everyone starting today. Everyone who's going to be the recipient of this answer is hundreds of thousands of dollars away. And by the time you spend that hundreds of thousands and plow away for 6 months, you're already another 100,000 behind the leaders and 6 months behind. Like there's a lot of it as far as the SEO and web page performance pieces that it just might not be catchable. Like I have a hard time endorsing somebody coming into the game now.
I think it's
aside from your area. You want to own your neighborhood. You can probably dominate your neighborhood and cut out the big boys from encroaching on it. But you trying to encroach onto the big cities.
The other thing too is getting reviews on Google's. Another thing too is long tail keywords. I think that's a key thing for brokers. Yeah. You're going to try and go for auto insurance. Good luck, because Bel Air, Sonnet, they're willing to pay $50, $60 a click to buy something. We're getting $4 or $5 clicks and about $12 leads. And then the other thing too is social, like build your brand. There's some value in getting your brand amplified. And if you're a smaller broker, you can't be everywhere. But as Adam said, kick ass in your niche, dominate your area and show stuff on your website. Don't show, I always jokingly say wood stove. Nobody wants to see how to make a safe wood stove. They want to see you and your staff out in the community doing stuff. They want to see your team members having some fun. They want to have some fun contests. They want to see some personality. And, I see a lot of brokers doing social media, but they're taking the Travelers or an Aviva post, recycling it, not even changing the logo. There's no brand wrapped around it. And they wonder why there's 300 people following them and they don't have much of a following. So you have to put some effort into your social media team. And, I'd say last thing, create some client journeys. The customer experience or content experience. There's too many brokers creating random acts of content where they write a really good blog because there's a lot of search, and then they drop them on a page. There's no call to action. There's no next step. They're just throwing them onto a desert island where there's just nothing but crap, and there's no experience there. So there's some things where, it doesn't matter the size. It matters how you think and how you act.
Is there a way, maybe not going after auto insurance in the GTA, but is there a way to get out there and compete in some specific areas?
Yeah. So I think there is. I think niche, and Jeff said it a dozen times. If you pick a niche and you can win a niche, like that's just picking the fight or the race you think you can win. And I think many of those are winnable. Many are carved out, but you can find a new angle, a new spin, something on, something, that hasn't been done, or you're coming at it with a good approach or a better product or a better, marketing onto social. SEO is my particular one. I have a real hard time telling people who are, smaller brokers trying to decide where they're going to put their next dollar. And I think you might be plowing it into a complete dead end that'll never show you a return if you go headstrong into SEO. Now, SEM or processing some leads, that's much more scalable, and you can get, to Jeff's point, $20, $30 leads. It's a guaranteed turn, and all you have to do is convert it. You can go really deep on your own book, marketing into email marketing and relationship building and getting to know them in a way it used to cost you thousands of dollars to mail them and get no response. And now you can email for free.
Great.
And even better, Adam, that you can actually see if people have opened the emails versus email stuff. You don't know if somebody looked at it, didn't look at it. They had real reach where they saw it and they either threw it in the garbage or read it. But now you've got the digital exhaust fumes of what they've done with it. So
I don't think that anybody can get to page one on a big funnel now. Even no matter how much they spend, they can't even catch little guys who have been there, because time online matters as well, right? So if you've been on page one, it's easier to hold that place. So my recommendations, if you're just starting to try to digitize, were to be pick what you want to own, niche wise, and whether that's a very small geography or a type of coverage or whatever it is. But also, don't try to do this half-assed yourself. You really need to engage with, if you don't have the expertise in house, which most of us don't, get somebody who understands your goals and isn't making promises that they're gonna get to page one.
And I think measure them. Right. So if you can measure the results on it, so you said pick a result, right? After you've picked it, which is good to pick one and run the experiment, you then need to know, is it working or not? Kill it fast, double down, and that goes with getting a vendor. If you get a vendor, are they getting you something? Measure them, give them a report card, and kill that quickly if it's not. Because you might pick your first 4 niches you pick, you thought it was brilliant, and you quickly find out it's not scalable. I can't get clients. There's actually somebody over here eating my lunch. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah,
but why? I mean, your phone is ringing right now. A, are you answering it? B, do you know why your phone is ringing? You're out there, so they're finding you somehow. Either they're being referred, or discover why and measure it and carry on from there. Like, get the expertise to win. But
the biggest thing is data. Like, you need to have some ideas, as Adam said. Like, if you're driving people to your website, how many visits do you want? And, we track for every 100 visitors, how many people get a quote. We're anywhere from 8 to 12 people per 100 get a quote. So you can scale that math up. But a lot of people drive a lot of people to their website and they haven't hooked up Google Analytics and they're flying blind, right? It's not good. Same with your blog. You can't guess, right? You can't use your gut. We talk about the gut feeling. You need to actually have data. So you figure out and do some experiments, but you need to measure. It's like if you go in the chemistry lab at university and you're trying to do stuff and you don't measure anything, you throw a bunch of stuff in a test tube. It's a good way to get your head blown off if you don't know what you're doing. So you gotta make sure you're actually measuring what you're doing, right?
That sounds like my university career.
Chemistry 101 gone bad, right?
It's probably ripe, like a perfect scenario to just pay for a consultant to come in and advise. Like it's like going, fishing with a fishing guide, you'll catch more. Going climbing with the climbing guide, you'll better journey. Like, the only thing I'd say be careful of is the snake oil salesman.
Yeah.
We've been burned. We've been burned a few times.
Yeah,
people especially early days.
More snake oil than there is.
Yeah, probably.
Right there.
So speaking of that, I know that a few of the insurance carriers have sort of curated lists of marketing firms. So I know for Aviva did that. Not sure if they still do. I know Wawanese is doing it. Do you guys think, is that a trustworthy source to go to? Can you call up Graham Hagan and Wawanese and say, hey, I need a marketing firm. in Southwestern Ontario, Nova Scotia, whatever? Do you think that's a
No.
good source?
I
No?
don't want to judge it on the blanket side of like I'd like to know what makes it a curated list. Like what was the vetting process? Like what is their report card and track record look like? If you can give me the before and after photo of 4 brokerages that went from no growth to 30% growth, then like okay, you clearly are helping or doing something. But I don't know. I can't say there's nobody that has a good list.
More importantly, do some research, learn about terms. You can go into Google and actually Google stuff, buy some books and do a little bit of reading, and don't go on 100% green. Or as Steve and Adam say, get a coach, join a mastermind group, ask brokers that are doing things like that. I'm not a super ridiculously smart guy. I live in a small town, but I happen to hook up with some really cool people and we share ideas.
I'm looking for one from each of you. So in total, 3. One simple thing from each of you guys to help brokers find an advantage in the new world. Steve, let's go with you first. One piece of advice to brokers.
Measure everything. Never guess.
Okay. Great.
Data, like, what was the term we used, Jeff, when we were talking about applied the other day?
In God we trust. Everyone else bring data.
Yeah, nothing's open. Interpretation is for art, not data.
Yeah.
Okay.
Either right or wrong.
So Adam, one simple thing that brokers can do to make a difference in the new world.
Track your leads. So any opportunities you get, you can go as simple as an Excel sheet and commit to doing that until it's cumbersome. And if you have any sort of scale, then put it into a modern lead management tool.
Okay. Awesome. Jeff, you get to close out this episode here. What's the one simple thing that you recommend brokers do?
Be a lifelong learner. Learners shall inherit the earth. If you're green, you're growing. If you're ripe, you rot. So I think the biggest thing is it's, back to Charles Darwin, it's not the strongest, but the one who adapts the best. If you're learning, you're meeting people, you're connecting with people, you're watching webinars, you're connecting with some people doing some cool stuff, it's going to rub off you like osmosis, and it's going to get into you, and it's going to allow you to do things. And as a leader, it's creating a culture where you can launch, fail, learn, fix, and be a lifelong learner. That'll allow you to adapt, and that'll be your superpower to get you to the next level.
I like that one.
Measure, track, learn. Those are 3 very simple things that brokers can do. So that's great. Thanks very much, guys. It wraps up this episode. So thank you to Steve Earle, Cheap Insurance, Jeff Roy from Excalibur,
Cowbell,
and Adam Mitchell from Mitchell & Whale. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go kiss a baby before it goes to bed, and I'll be right back down.
Okay.